Good morning and welcome to Namaste Today, a healthy way to kick off your day. I'm your heartfelt host and the Sensei to Serious Joy, Christopher Witecki. This audio blogcast is for Wednesday, Hump Day, June 14th, 2017. Welcome back, my friend and earthly neighbor. Namaste. The universe today is opening up and helping you to elevate your mind to a peaceful mind. In today's Zodiac Weather, I'll talk about the planets pointing towards Step 6. And later in your tea time, we are under a cosmic grand trine right now, so I thought I'd talk about some major grand trine. But first, let's take a look at today's moods and your Zodiac Weather. This Zodiac Weather is for Wednesday, June 14, 2017. And my global forecast for planet Gaia is sunny and brilliant today. Step 23 is the Grandmaster step of Gemini, and a grand trine unites everything together. Let's take a look at the planets. If things have felt a little bizarro in the last 24 hours, it's going according to God's plan. As we wake up today, Step 23 Gemini rules the day. Now, Step 23 adds to a 5, which is the number of Gemini, so this is the Grand Master step of Gemini. Finally, I believe, in this 24-hour period, your mind will finally get clear, and you begin to focus now. In fact, I call it razor-sharp focus. So from this point, we just go to focus. There will be no questioning. But in the last 24 hours, the universe was trying to get you to a new conclusion about something in your life. And because we have a grand trine going on, this actually unites two other parts of your life, your sense of fairness and where you feel you belong. But despite all of the electric energy on the planet, it seems quite clear to me the universe is trying to bump you into a peaceful mind. For one, Step 15 is where actual Mercury is, so our thoughts are actually looking for peace today. And secondly, Mars is at Step 6 Cancer, and that means our emotions are also looking for peace today. And I'm going to go ahead and spoil the ending of this little show and tell you that you will find your peace today, you will find your inner grace by listening to your heart. In fact, the moon today in Aquarius is also opposing the North Node in Leo. The North Node in Leo is an 18-month campaign by the universe for us all to return to our heart, what our heart has to say, what our heart truly wants, and in today's case, very much where our heart believes it is that we belong. And it is probably that opposition between where our heart feels we belong and what we have been thinking or what we have been known to think or what we have known life to be, that is what's preventing your peace of mind. Your mind has likely been insisting on you being on a certain level, you doing a certain way, you having to cross certain steps in order to get there. These are all really mind games, if you will, and maybe keeping you from what your heart really wants right now. So with the moon in Aquarius and opposing the North Node, this is the time of the month where our emotions are the furthest away from our heart that they get. We're in a bit of a cold environment. And this really is a good thing if you think about it, because if the goal is to get to a warm environment and you begin in a cold environment, then you're pretty clear when you reach that warm environment. Put more simply, if your mind feels locked or trapped in life, or you feel trapped in a certain situation, or you feel like you have no way out, then what the universe is saying today is your emotions and your heart should work together to feel around in the dark and see what idea, Gemini, makes you feel lighter. What idea lets you out of that cage? A good example of this is kind of when people get lotto fever. They get down on their life, they go buy lotto tickets, and then they start thinking about what they would do with all the money. And suddenly their heart lights up and your whole life feels so much better because all you're doing is imagining what you would do with the money. What I'm suggesting you do is actually have your heart explore options for your life that are within your reach. It doesn't matter if you haven't considered them before. It doesn't matter if somebody else isn't going to like it. All right, that might be part of their fate, that they have to deal with this situation. But what you want to search for is, what does your heart feel the solution is? What would your heart be happy with? What sort of idea or direction would make your heart light up? You'll know you found the right course when suddenly you can open up and breathe. Step 6. And that's what we're going for today. We're going for the ability to open up and relax and come to our peace. And the only way I think that your soul is going to really feel at that peace is if your mind, Gemini, is convinced that you're going to get what your heart wants out of the situation or could get out of the situation. Now, there's one area that's also calling for a bit of a decision today. Venus, which is the planet of 6, is in Taurus at step 8, which means in this next 24-hour period or so, you will be deciding, step 8, what you want to open up to, Venus, in your manifestations of reality, Taurus. So to some degree, this whole idea of following your heart may just have to do or play out with a practical decision in your life between taking 2 vacations. Should we go visit grandma or should we go to the beach? The answer is, what does your heart really want? And I know people say, but I love my grandma. I didn't ask you that question. I asked you what your heart really wants. Of course, your heart loves your grandmother, but what does your heart really easily open up to the greatest? So today we're making that choice. And what's fascinating is we're 24 hours away now from the sun opposing Saturn. In fact, it begins its opposition later on this afternoon. And that will be the real turning point in the story we were born to live. And I'll be talking about that turning point in tomorrow's show. But before we get there and we have that turning point, we have been blessed with an interesting grand trine in air. And I think it's having us all do a lot of grand trying. With that said, why don't you go steep yourself some tea and let's have our daily tea time. Hello, my friend, and welcome to our tea time. Today's tea time topic is grand trying. I come up with this topic because we have undergone a grand trine in air for the last 24 hours or so. It's actually triggered by the moon in Aquarius. Aquarius is our belonging. The moon is how we feel. So you could put it simply as, with the moon in Aquarius, we're always feeling around for where we belong. And this can be as simple as, what restaurant should we go to? And it can be as grand as, what state should we move to? So today we're doing a lot of emotionally pandering around where we belong. But what makes today special versus other days is that the moon is trining into the sun at step 23 Gemini and then later step 24. Which means today, as we fish around for where we feel we belong, our mind is certainly going to identify it. That's the thing about Gemini. Step 23 is the grand master step of Gemini. And so when we hit 23 Gemini, our mind is, you could say, made up. So we're fixing to have our mind made up, and it's likely because of this moon trining into the sun at step 23, step 24. But for a few hours leading up to that point when step 24 hits, which actually will be the same moment that the moon hits step 24 Aquarius, it's weirdly cosmically timed. It'll be around 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Pacific. It's at that moment that you will probably make up your mind and be willing to move forward with opening up to that truth. So we're really just on the edge of some sort of intellectual finish line, if you will. And it comes down, I think, to the structure of the grand trine. Now, you're talking to a guy here who was born under an air grand trine. In fact, this grand trine today conjuncts my grand trine. And so, yes, I am lit up like a Christmas tree right now with electric energy. So many changes going on. And I know from this in my life how these grand trines work. What they do is they allow you to coordinate 3 states of awareness to work as a team. And because it's a triangle, it's a weird geometric shape, it forces it to be an equal team. That's the thing about a trine. So when you have a grand trine, or the universe forces a grand trine, you find yourself grand trying to get it all together. And you do come to a major focus point and realization. I think my grand trine in air is how I understand astrology the way I do, because when I look at something, I'm looking at it always from 3 points, 3 intellectual points, and this is also the same point that we're examining our life today, so it's kind of interesting. Now, what I want to give you are some questions to ask each point, all right? That's the essence of this, and the magic number here is 3. The sun is at 23 degrees Gemini, Jupiter is at 13 degrees, which is another 3, and I believe when the moon goes to step 23 at 5 o'clock Eastern, we will have this grand realization, at least by then, or we'll be affirmed by it. So if you lift up your watch at that time, if you've already came to a conclusion, you'll probably go, that's definitely it, and you'll have an affirmation. But the questions really do with this 3. The 3 is I believe. The 3 is our philosophy. The 3 is our theory about things, what our going theory is, and therefore our going vision on the product or project. And the truth is we quite often change our philosophies, especially when we've been running our head up against the wall over and over again. So the magic of this grand trine becoming a grand trine is that you must discover the appropriate philosophy from which you want to live by in each of these areas. Now, starting with the sun at step 23 is asking us, what sort of mindset should we live under? And 23 is what we feel and what we believe in. And I think the philosophy behind that 3 is that we want a peace of mind. I come up with that because of Mercury at step 15, Venus at 8, and Mars at 6. Like, there's this peace of mind kind of energetic thread going on with the day. So I think the philosophy is, hey, no matter what I discover today in my thinking, I want it to have a peace of mind. All right, so that's the philosophy for Gemini. Jupiter is at step 13, Libra, and this is probably the really deep part of the philosophy because Jupiter is the power of 3, and so Jupiter is where these theories come from. And so if there's a shift in your energy or in your philosophy, it might be in this Jupiter point. And Jupiter is asking the question, under what philosophy or theory do you determine things as fair? What is your theory behind fairness? Now, just to get your mind going on this topic a little bit, I'll give you an idea of how my change of fairness once updated. Once upon a time, when I started out on this adventure, I thought to myself, as long as it's fair in the end. And in other words, I used to live by the principle of it has to be fair basically by the time I die. So I was being super kind and super fair to everyone under this condition that in the end of the day, at the end of my life, it would end up being fair. I now have a new theory about fairness and balance. I now live under the fairness and balance of it must be fair and balanced at the end of the day. I only give myself a 24-hour window. Therefore, if an idea or a project or a person or anything is not fair today, then it's a pass. I'm not going to be under that theory anymore where my soul is financing other situations. And yes, actually, because I believe in manifestation, I believe that under my old theory, it would have been fair in the end. But I don't want to wait until I'm 106, okay? Like, I want to have that fairness come into my life now. So the change of my belief or my theory is it must be fair today. I must be in balance today. It cannot be something for tomorrow. It must be today. And then we have the moon. The moon is in Aquarius. And the moon in Aquarius is emotionally asking yourself, where do you feel you belong somewhere in your life? And I believe that the magic moment, which happens later at sundown on the East Coast, so to speak, will be when that moon does hit step 23. And that's when our emotions will align with the sun, will align with Jupiter. Okay? And at step 23, the moon will come to realization of where it is you belong. And I think that there will be a little bit of a change also in your philosophy of where it is you feel you belong. I'll give you an example for myself. In the old days, I belonged wherever God called me to be. So I felt if God needed me there, that's where I belong. Now my theory is it must be something I am called to by God for and something that my heart truly wants. And I realize with spirituality, God really doesn't care if you're helping out. That's awesome, period. You know what I mean? Like, it can also be something your heart really wants and helping out. So for me, my attitude adjustment has been these subtle changes of theory. And I'm sure, even though I'm sitting here describing the astrological event, I'm sure when it all comes together, I'll have my own epiphany and own new realization, because even now as I make this, I'm changing my own theories. So today, my friend, there is a grand brilliance that's potential here. It will seem brilliant to you when you can align up these theories. A theory of having a peace of mind, I think that's what you go with Gemini. What's fair to you, and where you feel you really belong. And remember, belonging must come with the heart. If your heart doesn't light up, you don't belong there. Now, for my Serious Joy subscribers, I have gone through the trouble in your daily pep talk to go into, in writing, into a little depth about the 3 areas you're uniting today, so you can be clear on your own philosophy and make sure they're aligned in those 3 areas. And I'm doing it for your A story because I think this really applies more to our solar sun sign than it does our ascendant right now. The ascendant will follow, the B story will follow. We want to get it down for the A story. So check that out in your pep talk at 8:33 a.m. And for everyone else listening, I do want to remind you that my personal Sensei service is only $3.99 for the first 30 days. Come give it a try. I've just released a new 2.0 version, and I have new features coming out literally every day. Come on down to SeriousJoy.com for a video and more information. All right, my friend and earthly neighbors, that's all I have for now, but I'll be back in 24 hours with more. Good luck in your grand trying. I hope they come into a grand trying epiphany. Remember that I love you, and to live, love, be.
Live, love, be.